Hi, Soul Family. Welcome to my channel. We talk about all things to heal, grow, and evolve. And today I wanted to talk about the African distraction and how there's a spiritual civil war going on. There is a spiritual war internally within our own minds, and that reflects itself externally within the battles that we fight within our own communities, the fights, the self hate, the bitterness, the resentment within our own people. And I wanted to talk about this because this shows itself in many different ways. And we kind of just play it off as, oh, it's just a joke. Oh, we're just having discussions. We're just having fun. We're just talking, yada, yada, yada. But I feel like the way that we portray ourselves online and the things that we discussed as Africans about who is better, which country is better, whose rice is better, which dance is better, we are better because this, that, yada, yada, yada. This is all things that we have been conditioned to believe. These are all programmings of brainwashing, programmings of mind control. It's all distractions because we're too busy fighting each other. We're too busy fighting within each other's tribes about who is better at what. We're so distracted from that, we can't even go within. We can't even focus on the internal conflicts within ourselves that is really causing and wreaking havoc in our own communities and wreaking havocs within our DNA. And this is what is causing our DNA to not be activated and to decrease our awareness and to not be able to evolve or not be able to build consciousness within our own communities because of these distractions. Is keeping us stuck in mental slavery, being slave to becoming a slave to whatever matrix mindset that is programmed for us to believe about ourselves, our people, and our history and our abilities, especially religious mindset, religious programming is keeping us enslaved and is keeping us away from our true powers, our connection to our ancestors, our connection within us that is a direct source from God. So my question is, where is the unity? Because all of these distraction is creating division. It's creating division within ourselves. Even I'm Nigerian, so I can really only speak for Nigeria's issues. Even within our own tribes, there is beef between each different tribes. But yet they like to boast. They love to brag about them being Nigerian. You can't have a conversation with without them bringing up how they're from Nigeria within the first 5 minutes. But yet there is so much division, there is so much separation between each tribe, between each ethnic group. But yet they're so proud to be Nigerian. But even if someone else is of a different ethnic group, different tribe, are we still not all Nigerian? So why is there so much beef between each group? Why is there so much division? Why is there so much hatred between one another? And I find that so ironic. Even someone for me, if I were to go to Nigeria, first of all, they'll know I'm not from there just by looking at my face, the way I present myself, especially my accent. And I feel like I'll be treated so much differently, even though I'm Nigerian, even though we have the same DNA, we share the same blood. I will still be looked at as different. I will still be treated differently. But if, let's say, someone who is not Nigerian, someone who is of Caucasian race, let's say if a white person were to come to Nigeria and visit, see the different reactions, see the way these people will be kissing the ground they walk on. They will be smiling in their faces, bending over backward to these people. This is what I'm talking about when I say the programming, the mental slavery, the brainwashing and mind control. The division you have for each other. You're putting all that energy. You're putting all this energy of someone who is not of your culture. This for all these white people coming to your country, taking your resources, taking your knowledge. But when you see someone who looks like you create division, you create hate. There's so much shame. And all of that comes from within. When you see a Nigerian hating someone else who's Nigerian, it is a projection from their internal mindset. It is a projection of their own internal hatred for themselves. It is the programming that they have been taught to believe, to hate themselves, to hate their skin color, to hate who they are, to hate who they come from, to hate their own culture, their history, their knowledge, and their own ancestors. This is something that we need to break out of. This is something that we need to disembody. This is something that we need to break from and break this curse within our own community. because this is what is tearing down our own people, not just Nigeria as a whole. I'm really saying this. I can really only speak for Nigeria, but I'm really saying this as the whole continent of Africa, because this is what has happened. This is the programming that has been placed and has been brainwashed within its whole continent. That's why it's in shambles. That is why there's so much issues. There's so much corruption because of this programming, belief systems, because we were taught to hate ourselves. We were taught to have so much distraction. We were taught to look everything else externally, look for all the answers externally. And if you go within yourself, find answers within yourself, is demonic because of the religious programming that has been taught. And it's really sad because these conditioning and these self-limiting beliefs is so bad to the point that they're really believing the things that the enemy is telling them about ourselves. And it's working. That is the craziest thing. It is working. They are believing what the enemy is telling them about themselves. And this limiting belief is what's making them believe there is a lack of ability to achieve anything that's good without burning yourself to the ground, without being under someone, because we have these powers within ourselves. If we come in unity, you know how powerful it would be. There's so many resources in Africa. There's so much rich resources, rich knowledge, but it's been forgotten. And it's to the point where other nations, other countries are stealing that away from us. And the people are just sitting there allowing it to happen because they've forgotten who they are. They've forgotten the richness that comes from their land. They've forgotten their ancestors. They've forgotten the knowledge and the abilities and the power that we had within us. If only we remembered how strong, if we remember how powerful this knowledge that we had we still have within us, we wouldn't allow anybody to just walk in and just cause havoc within our land, our communities, because all of this has been forgotten and they don't know. There's a lot of ignorance about ourselves, ignorance about our history has been forgotten. And because of that, that's how we are easily taken advantage of. And it was so crazy because I don't know how I got into this conversation with my mother. I think I was reading some type of book, and it was a fictional story. And this book takes place pre-colonialism, before slavery. So this is fictional about like superpowers, magical abilities, right? So I was telling my mother about this, and I just said something. Yeah, this takes place in Africa before slavery happened. Da da da. Then my mom stopped me, right, and tell me why she said slavery didn't happen in Africa. Slavery didn't happen in Nigeria. She said the white people came there to help us. That is what they are teaching people in Nigeria. That is what they're teaching people in the schools, that the white people came here to help us, help our lands because we were suffering and they felt sorry for us, so they came to help us out. I said, what kind of brainwashing, mind control nonsense is this? So this is what people are learning. This is what our own people are learning about our history. This is the historical thing they have created. This is the story they've made up about how they came to help us because we were so miserable, because we were so poor and in poverty, and they felt bad for us, so they came to help us. That's what she told me. That's what they were taught. That is what they were taught in school. And this is the programming that they're believing about themselves because the information has been lost. It's really sad because people really believe this. And this is how it's so easy to control people because of information. Information and knowledge is so powerful. You can use this to control an entire country, control an entire nation just by having information, because we don't remember, because we have forgotten this information about ourselves. It's easy to make people believe white people came to help us out in Nigeria, that colonialism never happened. It was just a made up story. I feel like even the separation between each countries, it's also created by division. It is created due to colonialism. Our ancestors were nomads. They traveled around the world. They traveled around the continent. So they didn't stay in one place forever. So there was no division between each country. There was no physical division between each people to say, oh, these other people only live here. Only these certain peoples only live in this area. They were spread all over the continent. And so that's why there is a mixture, there is an exchange of culture, exchange of knowledge, exchange of resources. We shared our knowledge within one another because there was unity. There was understanding of who we are. There was knowledge that was shared within one another. It wasn't a separation. It wasn't just a bunch of cliques just saying, oh, only Nigerians are here, only Ghanaians are here, only Kenyans are here. It was shared amongst one another. So we're too busy fighting each other, but yet we look to other people, we look to other countries, we look to other nations thinking that they're better than us because of this loss of information and this loss of knowledge from resources and our disconnection from our ancestors and God given abilities. And this brings me into self hate. And I think I already mentioned this, but it brings me into internalization of self hate within ourselves due to these programmings. And this is what's really causing a spiritual civil war within one another. Like this self hate is so deep to the point where it's in our within our DNA. Like it changed our DNA. The information about ourselves, the information that we've been programmed to believe, is what's changing the construction and the information that is placed within our DNA. And so it is so deep, it is so integrated that this is literally passed down from generation to generation. And these genetic codes of self hate, of not believing in your abilities, of thinking your ancestors are demonic, of these religious programs, is passed down from each generation. Also, these belief system is because we are African, we're meant to suffer on this planet. We're not meant to enjoy our lives. We have to fight, we have to work hard because we're born into African blood, we're born into black skin. These are things that I've heard my family growing up. These are things that they truly believe about themselves because of this programming. So you have to suffer. You have to endure pain. Without pain, you cannot have success. Without pain, you cannot have happiness. And happiness is only a small crumb because life is not all about happiness. They were taught about life is about working hard. Life is about working yourself to the bone. And this is just really sad to me because I've watched my family grow up and I see the way they work. I see the way they live their life because of this programming, because of this belief that they've been taught. They've been taught by their parents. Their parents taught that from their own parents. And so all of this is generational information that has been passed down through our DNA and which is still active, which is still being alive, still being implemented by our families because of this act, because of this information, these DNA codes that is within our DNA has been playing out, and that is the story they're telling themselves. This is why I also see a lot of parents project their insecurities onto their children. Instead of speaking life into their children, they curse them, throw a lot of insults at them. And we see this on social media. We make a lot of jokes about our parents calling us out of our names, saying all these kinds of insults at us. And we laugh about it because, we think back and we laugh at the things we experience. But this is something I feel like it's a big problem in our community because when you talk, when you're speaking, especially to your children, you need to speak life into them. You need to encourage them. You need to inspire them. But instead, many African parents do not do that. They shame them. They always want to cause some type of havoc, some type of trouble. Always pinpricking, always pinpointing, and picking and prodding at every little thing, every little situation. This is all projection and internalization, but it's something that they've been taught. It's really all they know. It's all they experience because themselves went through that same situation as a child, and they've seen their own parents do that. So in return, they grow up and they believe this is the way we're supposed to be, or this is just how Nigerians are. Because I've mentioned this to my family too many times and I keep telling them, but of course it's not received because they believe, oh, this is just how Nigerians are. This is how we are. This is how we talk. This is just how we are. It's only how you are because you're programmed to believe that. It's only how you are because that's how you see yourself because of these limiting beliefs, because of these programs, because of these stories, the self-concept. This is how you see yourself. So of course that's how you believe. So of course is what you're going to say because that is all you know, that is all you've seen, that is all you experience. So only your external reality is going to confirm that, but that's only your confirmation because of your mental beliefs. So what I'm really trying to get out of this is there needs to be some type of expansion of consciousness and awareness about ourselves and really dig deep on why we have so much self-hate. I mean, the reason is because of programming, religious programming, colonialism programming. But we need to dig deep in why is this still active to this day? And why is it work? And why have this programming worked so well on us for eons, for generations? It's time for this curse to be lifted. It's time for this curse to be broken and this cycle of mental slavery to end. Because I'm really tired of seeing it within our own people. They just don't understand or don't know how much power they have within ourselves. And they're walking around thinking they're powerless or hopeless. Only the white people or only people outside of Africa can help them. And they think America is the best country in the world, that Africa is nothing but a shithole in shambles. It's only like that because of the corruption and because of the mental beliefs and because of the limiting belief systems that have been placed on us. So we don't know what to do with our own land, don't know what to do with our own resources, don't know how to unify ourselves and create something for our own community. That is why it's in shambles. That is why there's so much corruption, because they just don't have the information they need to remember who they are, to start living back into their God-given abilities. Is that lack of knowledge and that lack of information. And the corruption in the government is definitely not helping that. So I'm just saying that it's time to think outside the box and stop looking at everything from a lens and looking at it from a bird's eye perspective, and let go of these distractions, let go of whose artist is better, whose rice is better, whose dance is better. These competitions I think is completely useless. Instead of fighting over whose country can dance the better, who can do the best dance moves, we need to figure out like how we can all come together and do something for our own community to build it up, to raise our consciousness, to expand. But I feel like the programming is so deep. Not enough people will not enough people will unite or even think that it's something that needs to be solved or something that needs to be fixed, or even if they don't even think it's an issue. That's how deep this programming, that's how deep this brainwashing has gone. And I also feel like we are more than just entertainment. We're more than just music, food. The food is bomb, the music is great, but we're more than that. We're more than just entertainment to look at on TV or just a plate to eat. We are so much rich culture, rich history, but I just feel like it just doesn't want to be acknowledged. Like people would rather just dance on the street than build up their own communities, or dance on the street than remember their ancestors or remember their gifts, or they think that's demonic because of religious programming. And that's what's really stopping us from evolving and stopping us from obtaining enlightenment, from expanding our awareness, from connecting back to our source, because we have a direct connection to source. That's the crazy things. Us as Africans, we have a direct connection to source and we're not using it. We have a direct divine given, God given powers, and it's not being used or activated as it should be. Do I think that's ever going to change? Honestly, it's going to take a long ass time before the majority of Africans really release this brainwashing program beliefs about themselves, about religion, about their ancestors, about being just a hopeless, powerless person because you were born with black skin. Like, y'all, the programming is so deep. I don't even know if like we can really truly ever recover from it. But I'm still gonna have hope. But it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of time to get rid of this programming. So yeah, I just wanted to make a video about that, of what I've noticed about these distractions and this spiritual internalized civil war. And it really all comes down to self-awareness and expanding your consciousness. I feel like the issue, the solution is very simple, but the way to get there is going to take a lot of work and is very complex. So how do we really do that? I have no clue. I have no idea. But I feel like it starts one day at a time. It's baby steps. It will start off small, and then eventually the majority of Africans will catch up on it. I feel like black people as a whole, we are starting to wake up more. Black Americans, Caribbeans, feel like they are a little bit more aware of the issue. But to Africans, I feel like they still have a long way to go. When it comes to the elders, they're already out the question. They're out the equation. The elders, we can't save the elders. We can't save them. They're too far gone. They are too much in the sunken place. We just gotta forget about them. Maybe in their next life they will change, because you can't change elders. You already know elders are stubborn. They don't want to listen in the first place. So you trying to tell them something else that is not that is not within their norm, that's not something they experience or live, is not going to be received. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to take some time to really get rid of this programming. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. That is really all I have to say about this. It's time to release this distraction, break the curse, and break the cycle that has been plagued in the African community. So I hope this video finds you well. If there's anything else you want me to talk about specifically, just let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I will see you on the next video. Bye, y'all.